Okay, I was born in Albertville, Alabama, and at a cotton mill village. My mother and dad both worked at the cotton mill, and my mother and I guess my dad worked at nights because I remember my older sister, who was 11 years older than me, was our caregiver when my mother was working. And she would tell me how I would be crying at night and that she couldn't comfort me. And then we moved from there out onto a farm that we sharecropped. That's where you go in and you do the work, you plow the fields and you raise the crop, whatever, which was usually cotton. And then you harvested the cotton, you picked it and you put it on the back of a wagon and hitched a mule up and took it to the cotton gin. And I remember vividly of riding on the back of the cotton to the cotton gin, and this was just a way of life. So it was just very simple. Didn't have any. We had electricity, but we didn't have cars. We lived out in the country, so we basically had to depend on neighbors, our relatives, to take us to church or to town or wherever we needed to go.
Do you remember if you had indoor plumbing?
At some point we had indoor plumbing, but when we lived earlier years, there was an outside toilet. I don't really remember too much of that.
So I know you were young and the boys were a little older than you, and I know that they had to do a lot of the plowing in the fields with the Jenny mule. And what would your dad do?
I was told, I don't remember, but I was told that he would get everything ready to go out and plow and whatever, and then he would turn it over to the boys, and he would go off and make his called it homebrew, homemade liquor. And this was his downfall. He that was his way of escape, and he didn't consider the family too much. It was just that he thought he needed an escape, so he would maybe disappear for days or weeks or months, and then just show up. And
so what would Grandma do while he was gone with 6 kids?
a lot of times she would have to depend on relatives, and of course we had gardens to help feed the family.
So when we were at the reunion and we heard the story from relatives about how there were times where she had nothing in the house, and I'm sure that wasn't always, but there was times when she had nothing in the house but cornmeal and water, but she always found a way somehow to have something to put in your bellies. And then I guess you would go to Grandma Ragsdale's house sometimes and stay with her, which she was also a widow and she was also poor. So the fact that y'all could stay fed was really quite amazing without a father figure.
Correct. Yeah, it was. Of course, I was young, very young, and you don't really. You just think, well, yeah, that's life, and so you just accept whatever fate has dealt you.
So when did you get to the place where you realized, wait a minute, that wasn't normal? that shouldn't have happened?
Well, we always lived out in the country, so we didn't have any other activities except just playing with our brothers and sisters, maybe seeing some cousins. But there was nothing available, no recreational places to go to. You just made do with what you had. I remember as first grade, I went to a one room schoolhouse, and this is no lie. My brothers and we would walk to school, and in the snow or rain or whatever, and it was just a one room with a potbelly stove. And so one day, I had a coat on that my mother had made me, and we got to the schoolroom, and I was up warming myself at the stove, and got a little close, and my coat got burned in the back. Luckily, it didn't catch on fire, but it ruined my coat.
And what was your coat made out of?
It was made out of recycled clothes.
Was it kind of a patchwork?
No, it was just
solid material.
Solid material. Our house had burned, and people gave us clothes that they no longer wanted. So my mother would tear them apart and make clothes that would fit us.
Wow. And she was an amazing seamstress, wasn't she?
Yes.